This is an amazing journey of heartache, revenge, and victory. Will bring tears to your eyes. Edith stood in the attic, shadows draping over her like a heavy cloak. Dust particles danced in the slants of sunlight that peeked through a grimy window. The air was thick, filled with the musty scent of forgotten years. She gripped an old wooden box, its surface scarred, just like her heart. This was their home, a tapestry of memories, now frayed by loss. Her husband, William, had been the bright thread weaving it all together, and now he was gone, leaving an aching emptiness. As she pushed aside old toys and wedding photographs, her fingers brushed against something. A diary. Bound in cracked, faded leather, it was stained with time, and perhaps bleeding secrets she never knew. Her chest tightened with a mixture of dread and curiosity. What stories could this diary hold? With trembling hands, she opened it. The first page was yellowed, filled with her husband's neat handwriting. Each word seemed to echo. Forgiveness is easier than regret. A lump formed in her throat. She gasped as she turned page after page, twists of love and betrayal. There were entries about a son, Jonathan, whom she hadn't seen in years. His life appeared tangled with their past, and Edith's heart raced. Could her husband have kept more from her? The diary spilled secrets like ink, dark and swirling. A name repeated, Lisa, a woman she had never heard of before, and whispers of a broken relationship. Her heart pounded harder. Was this the reason for Jonathan's disconnection? Did he abandon her as much as she felt abandoned by him? Suddenly, the attic creaked, as if the house itself held its breath, waiting for her to piece it all together. Edith felt anger bubbling inside, hot and fierce. How dare William keep this from her? How could he let the truth fester like a sore? Determined, she decided to confront Jonathan. Would he even agree to see her? Their hometown lingered far in the rearview mirror of her mind, shadowed by heartbreak and regret. But if he had turned his back on them, she needed to know why. The next day, she set out, her weathered hands gripping the wheel of her old car like it was a life raft. Memories washed over her as she drove, each bend in the road stirring remnants of laughter, tenderness, and pain. A part of her longed to bury the past, yet she was now entwined in this urgent quest for truth. In town, she bumped into Ben, a local journalist with a persistent gleam in his eyes. He offered to help her explore the tangled web of her husband's hidden past. Together, they pored over old records, piecing together shadows of betrayal and love that had once cradled her family. Each revelation was a double-edged sword. Hope mingled with heartbreak, and as they uncovered connections, Edith found herself at a crossroads. Could she forgive? Could even her son seek understanding? The final discovery sent icy fingers of dread up her spine, shaking her core. A letter from William to Jonathan. The words were haunting, suggesting ties that could either mend or shatter the family completely. With every beat of her heart, the confrontation loomed closer. How could she face Jonathan with the weight of this knowledge? What truth would unravel, and what choices awaited her? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Edith stood at the edge of her past, that letter weighing down her pocket like a stone. She could almost hear the ticking clock of fate echoing in the corners of the house. The shadows loomed larger, twisting into silhouettes of doubt and dread. Would she really confront Jonathan? Fingers trembling, she took a deep breath and drove toward their hometown. Each mile felt like a leap into the unknown, anticipation coursing through her veins. Memories flickered like lightning in her mind. The laughter at family dinners, Jonathan's first steps, the hugs that lingered just a moment too long. When she reached the familiar street, her heart ached in her chest. The old oak tree stood tall, its branches stretched like arms, welcoming her back. But as she turned to park, a woman appeared in the rearview mirror, running toward her, panic etched on her face. Edith squinted, squashing a sudden surge of irritation. Who could that be? The woman seemingly clutched a photo, waving it frantically. Edith stepped out, confusion spilling over. "What's wrong? Is this your son?" the woman gasped, breathless, thrusting the picture into Edith's startled hands. Staring down, a wave of nausea crashed through her. It was Jonathan. But beside him stood Lisa, the name that had haunted her thoughts. They were smiling, arms wrapped around each other, eyes sparkling with a joy she hadn't seen in years. That's my son," Edith finally whispered, her stomach churning. "Who is she?" The woman's eyes burst with urgency. "I'm sorry. I didn't know he was your son. But I think you should know. Jonathan and Lisa, they were together. I saw them just last week. She's pregnant." Edith's breath hitched. It felt like the ground had vanished beneath her. The food she'd eaten that morning turned to stones in her stomach. Pregnant? The word echoed in her mind, heavy and surreal. "Yes, I thought you should." "No." The woman stepped back, vulnerability cracking through her determination. Before she could stop herself, Edith found her voice. "Where is Jonathan?" The woman hesitated, wariness flickering across her eyes. "He's at the cafe down the road. I could show you, if you—" "Show me!" Edith interrupted, desperation creeping into her tone. The cafe was just a mile away, but it felt like a lifetime. In the car, she gripped the steering wheel so tight her fingers turned white. Would she scream? Would she break down? The truth twisted like a knife in her heart. Just days ago, she was chasing shadows of the past. Now, she was racing toward a future she hadn't been prepared for. When they arrived, the bell above the door jangled like a warning. There was Jonathan, bright-eyed and carefree, sitting beside Lisa, as if nothing haunted his mind. Laughter spilled from their lips, innocent and unguarded. Edith felt her own laughter become lodged in her throat. Her heart pounded in her ears. Fury and betrayal ignited the air. How could he? The woman beside her turned serious, whispering, "You have to decide. What will you say?" As she stepped forward, the world felt suspended in time. The cafe noise faded, people blurred around her. All that existed now was her heartache, pouring from every inch of her being. "Jonathan!" she spat, voice trembling, the sound sharp as glass. He turned, and the light faded from his eyes the moment he saw her. End. Then, as he opened his mouth to speak, a sudden crash echoed through the cafe. The glass door blew open, revealing a stranger with wild eyes, holding a crumpled paper in his fist. "Edith?" he yelled, panic ingrained in his tone. "You need to come with me. There's something you need to see. It's about William." Her world tilted again, the earth shaking beneath her feet. Everything changed in an instant. What had she just uncovered? What new truth was about to surface, unraveling the already fragile threads of her life? "Wait!" she gasped, looking from Jonathan back to the stranger. What now? The mystery deepened, drawing her into a darker abyss of secrets and revelations. "Edith?" he yelled, panic etched into his features. "You need to come with me. There's something you need to see. It's about William." Edith felt like the floor had dropped out from beneath her. She looked at Jonathan, then back to the stranger. Clenching her fists, she stepped toward the man. "What do you mean? What about William?" "Just come with me." His voice was urgent, anxious. People were staring now. The cafe's lively chatter fizzled into whispers. Jonathan's eyes widened, confusion mixed with strain. "Mom?" he called. Caution creeping into his tone. "What's going on?" But before she could respond, the stranger spun on his heel. "This way! Hurry!" Heart pounding, Edith took a deep breath and followed. Jonathan followed too, hesitating at first, but something compelled him. They rushed outside, the afternoon sun glaring down like a spotlight on a stage. Edith's mind raced, filled with questions. What could possibly be so urgent? The man led them down a narrow alley beside the cafe, the air thick and tense. The scent of old bricks hung heavy, mixed with a hint of fear. "It's just around the corner," he said breathlessly. As they rounded the bend, Edith froze. A small crowd had gathered, a swarm of murmurs buzzing in the air. And what lay in the center of it sent an icy wave of dread through her. It was a car, a familiar car. Her heart sank deeper as she recognized William's old sedan, now parked haphazardly. The windows were shattered, glass glinting against the pavement. Police lights flashed, casting shadows that danced across the brick walls. "What happened?" Jonathan's voice wavered, disbelief filling the space between them. "There was an accident," the stranger said, words falling heavy. "But there's more. You need to understand." Edith could hardly breathe. A police officer approached, serious and grim. "Man," he said, looking directly at her. "Are you Edith Hartley?" Yes, that's me." Her voice trembled. "I'm sorry to inform you." His gaze softened, but his words cut deeper than anything she expected. "Your husband was involved in a hit-and-run accident. He didn't survive." A gasp escaped her lips, jagged and raw. It felt like the ground opened beneath her once again, the world spinning. She reached for the nearest wall to steady herself, tears spilling over. "Wait, what? No! No!" Jonathan's voice rose, panic driving him. "This isn't happening!" Edith's chest tightened, a vice squeezing around her heart. It was unbearable. How could this be true? He was fine. "Ma'am, earlier today, there was a chase. He was trying to help someone. They said he was a hero," the officer continued gently, but his words fell on deaf ears. Edith's mind blurred with disbelief, collapsing under the weight of everything. Moments felt like hours as she tried to process it. The world around her a chaotic swirl of faces and distant sirens. Suddenly, Jonathan grabbed her arm. "Mom, we have to find out more. Did he know something? Was he in danger?" In that moment, everything she thought she understood shifted again. The mention of danger sparked a flicker of doubt. What if this wasn't just an accident? "What do you mean?" she stammered, looking up at Jonathan, his eyes dark with worry. "Think, Mom, the diary, the secrets. What if it's connected? What if—" Before he could finish, the stranger broke in, eyes wide. "There's something else. You have to see this." He leaned closer, lowered his voice, but the tension was electric. "It's about that letter I mentioned. It wasn't just any letter. It revealed a name that isn't in the past." "Who? What are you talking about?" Edith demanded, desperate for clarity amidst the confusion. "William's not who you think he is. You need to know." With that, the stranger handed her a crumpled paper, heart churning in her chest. She opened it, the words inside shifting the ground once more. They weren't about the past. They were about now. Names she never expected to see. Plans that could unravel everything. "Who is this?" she whispered, her breath hitching, every heartbeat echoing the shock. The truth loomed above her like a storm cloud, threatening to descend. And in that moment, a new question emerged. What card of secrets and shadows had William been pulling? They were about to discover, all together, that nothing was as it seemed. Edith stared at the crumpled paper in her hand, pulse racing, heart drumming against her chest. The name echoed in her mind, twisting her thoughts. "What does it mean?" she mumbled, barely above a whisper. She looked around, everyone waiting, eyes wide with anticipation and a mix of fear. Jonathan's face was pale, his jaw clenched as he braced for the truth. "Mom, who is this?" he urged, his voice a tight wire pulled too far. The stranger stepped closer, a tense shadow beside them. "It's about your husband and what he was involved in. It's more serious than you think." "Enough with the mystery!" Jonathan snapped, frustration creeping into his tone. "Tell us!" Edith's fingers trembled, the paper shaking slightly between them. She unfolded it with care, and glanced. Was a name she couldn't ignore. Her mind raced. How? How is this possible? Before anyone could answer, there was a bone-chilling scream from the crowd. Edith's stomach dropped as she turned, the sound piercing through the air like a knife. A woman had collapsed near the car, clutching her chest, eyes wide, spilling tears onto the pavement. "Is she okay?" Jonathan whispered, fear sinking into his voice. Edith didn't hear him. Her mind was locked on the crumpled paper. A new name screaming at her. "Kathy," she whispered, nausea spiraling in her gut. "That's his first love, the one he never got over." Jonathan's eyes widened. "What? How do you know that? I thought it was just a childhood thing," she stammered, the weight of the moment crushing her. He was supposed to have moved on. Before she could process it, the stranger jumped in again, urgency flooding his voice. "Listen, there's something more. The letter mentioned Kathy in connection with something dangerous. Something William was trying to protect you from." "Protect us?" Jonathan echoed, disbelief wrapping around his words like a shroud. "By keeping secrets? This doesn't make sense." Footsteps approached, hurried and chaotic. A police officer drew near, an unsettling shadow crossing his face. "Ma'am, we need to speak with you. There's been new information." "New information?" Edith felt the floor give way. "What could be more than what you just told me?" "Please, come with me." The officer gestured toward the chaos, and Edith knew whatever lay ahead would change everything. She swallowed hard, trying to keep her composure, but dread slithered through her veins. "What's going on?" Jonathan's voice rose. fear slicing through his facade. But before the officer could answer, another figure surged from the crowd, wild-eyed and frantic. "Edith! Wait!" It was Lisa. The woman who had once seemed so distant now rushed forward. Breathless, she grabbed Edith's arms. Desperation. "Your family!" "What? What do you know?" Jonathan demanded, fury flashing in his eyes. But before Lisa could explain, a loud crash erupted from the direction of the vehicle. Glass scattered, panic rippling through the gathered crowd, screams piercing the air. Edith's heart lurched. What now? She felt the rising chaos wrap tighter around her. Out of the swirling confusion, a figure stepped forward. A man in dark, torn clothing, face masked in shadows. "You have to decide, Edith! Secrets can kill!" Edith's mind raced, tethering her to the moment before everything grew hazy. "What do you mean?" He pulled something from his pocket, tossing it onto the ground. The object tumbled and landed with a thud. A small, black device. The air grew heavy, and electric tension crackling as everyone gasped, stepping back. "William was trying to stop this!" The man shouted over the gathering crowd, voice breaking through the confusion. "You have to know everything before they get to you. Your lives depend on it." Edith felt the world spin, instability seeping in. It clawed at her. What the hell is happening? And just like that, all the threads of her life began to unravel, secrets tightening around her. Her heart raced as she faced the truth. What if everything she thought she knew about William's death was a lie? What if nothing was what it seemed? As the crowd buzzed and uncertainty loomed heavy in the air, one question echoed in her mind. Who could she trust now? Edith stared at the crumpled paper, her heart racing, pulse pounding like a drum. The name etched on it was a jagged reminder of all the secrets and lies entwined in her life. "What does it mean?" she whispered, struggling to comprehend the reality crashing around her. The crowd surged, whispers turning to murmurs of shock. Jonathan shifted beside her, eyes wide, his voice strained with urgency. "Mom, who is this? What's going on?" The stranger loomed close, tension painting his features. "It's about your husband. You need to understand what he was involved in. It's worse than just love and betrayal." Then the shout pierced through the chaos, a woman's anguished scream. Edith turned just as a figure stumbled forward, clutching her abdomen, eyes frantic. "No, please, not now!" People gasped, turning to see a swirl of energy as Lisa pushed through the crowd, panic griping her voice. "Something's happening! It's connected! You all need to listen!" "Listen to what?" Jonathan's voice cracked, the confusion twisting into frustration. "You're freaking out for no reason!" But before Lisa could respond, the crashing sound echoed like thunder. The masked man let out a growl, kipping the small black device he had tossed onto the ground. The crowd leaned in, a ripple of dread sweeping through them. And then, suddenly, there was a flash, bright and blinding, like the sun had exploded in their midst. People screamed, recoiling as a wave of force knocked them back. Edith stumbled, gripping Jonathan's arm. What was that? The masked man lunged forward, his expression shifting from anger to sheer terror. "No! No! This wasn't supposed to happen!" He lunged at the device, but it ignited with a sharp crackle, sending sparks flying everywhere. Panic spread like wildfire. A woman in the front collapsed, screaming as darkness surged, shadows swirling around them. What had just been a chaotic gathering transformed into a nightmare. "Get back! a police officer shouted, trying to usher people away from the strange energy emerging from the device. "Mom, we need to go!" Jonathan pulled her hand, eyes wide with fear. "This doesn't feel right!" But Edith felt rooted to the spot, a strange urge tugging at her, pulling her toward the chaos, closer to the swirling shadows. "No, wait! This is connected! I can feel it!" Then suddenly, another figure emerged through the haze. A woman in disheveled clothing, her face pale. "Stop! You have to listen to me!" She looked at Edith, something in her eyes flickering with recognition. "You need to know the truth about William. He's not who you think he is." Edith's heart thudded, confusion crashing over her. "What do you mean?" But before the woman could speak, a loud boom echoed, sending everyone to the ground. With a whoosh, the device exploded, revealing a shimmering portal. The air warped and twisted, revealing glimpses of a different world. "Get away! It's not safe!" Lisa screamed. But the portal pulsed, drawing the crowd closer. The energy more intense. Faces morphed into colors and shadows, reality bending all around. "Mom, we have to get out of here!" Jonathan yelled, dragging her back. But she felt pulled closer, as if the truth lay just beyond the veil of energy, just within reach. "William!" she whispered, desperation clawing at her throat. What lay beyond that portal? What had he been hiding? The very air crackled with revelation. "Edith!" Jonathan's voice snapped her back. "We can figure it out back home. Please, let's go." But before she could respond, the woman stood in front of the portal, eyes ablaze. "You have to choose now. Go to safety or step through and uncover everything. Your choice will change everything." The vibrant energy surged, wrapping around them, pulling them in two directions. Everything she thought she knew felt ready to fracture, secrets pouring like shadows from William's past. In that moment, the pull of uncertainty tightened its grip. What if she stepped through? Would the truth shatter her world even more? As the crowd throbbed with tension, Edith stood at the edge. Would she dive headfirst into the unknown, or run from the very heart of everything she loved? Edith stood torn between choices, the swirling chaos before her and the stark reality behind. Jonathan clutched her wrist, panic etched on his face. "Mom, we need to leave. This is insane." But dark shadows twisted in the portal, and her heart raced. She could feel the truth beckoning from the other side, beckoning with whispers of secrets unspoken. The woman blocking the portal, desperation in her eyes, leaned closer. "You have to understand. William was protecting something very dangerous." Then the ground shook. A loud rumble vibrated beneath them. The crowd gasped, stumbling back as the air crackled with energy. A spotlight of clarity pierced through the chaos for a moment, focusing on the masked man who had thrown the device. Suddenly, he collapsed, clutching his chest. Edith's stomach dropped. "What's happening?" she shouted, her voice strained over the rising panic. In the midst of the chaos, the masked man gasped. "It was never supposed to be this way." His voice was thin, fading. "Kathy, she was the key, the real." "Kathy?" Jonathan echoed, confusion painting his features. "Who is Kathy?" Before anyone could answer, Lisa screamed, "Stand back! You don't know what's coming!" Suddenly, the device exploded in a dazzling flash of light, sending shards scattering like stars across the pavement. A roaring wind swept through the crowd, carrying with it a strange energy. Edith shielded her eyes as the world spun faster. When the light dimmed, there was silence. Everything felt heavy, like the air was thick with dread. Then came a voice, deep and haunting. Edith. Her breath caught in her throat. She turned slowly, chills creeping along her spine. A figure emerged from the shadows, stepping into the light like a ghost. William? She gasped, disbelief seeping into her. Bones. But this man was different. His eyes were furious, blazing with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. It can't be. He looked the same, yet so different. The warmth replaced by something cold, something dark. You don't understand, Edith. They're coming for you, for him. He pointed at Jonathan, the cry of a mother ripping through her. What do you mean? She yelled, terror clawing at her insides. The world tilted again, secrets pouring like rain. This was not her husband. This was a stranger, shaped by shadows and pain. You thought I was dead, he continued, each word like a sting. But I've been watching, protecting. They know too much. They'll use you to get to me. Jonathan shook his head, stumbling back. No, you're lying! Look deeper, William's voice boomed, resonating through the alley. Your mother's been in danger since your name was spoken in the shadows. I did everything to protect you. I don't believe you! You're not my father! Jonathan shouted, shaking as his world crumbled. But then the crowd gasped. A flicker of movement caught their eyes. The woman who had collapsed earlier stirred, eyes flickering to life. Slowly, she rose, face pale, whispering, You must listen. It's all connected. The names, it's true. Kathy, she knows everything. What is happening? Who are you? Edith shouted, her heart racing as dread washed over her. But the woman just looked at William, tears rolling down her cheeks. It's time to choose. Edith felt unmoored, the tension thickening like fog. The truth was unraveling faster than she could grasp. William's gaze was piercing, demanding. You must trust me, Edith. There's a larger game at play. You're more important than you realize. And then the shadows surrounding the portal shifted, swirling like a tempest. In that instant, Edith saw flashes of memories. Happiness with William, laughter with Jonathan, bright dreams of a future shattered. Could she trust the man before her? Mom, Jonathan's voice pulled her back. Now, the woman screamed. Edith looked between the two, her husband, her son, her heart breaking with every second that passed. What do I do? Then, as if the universe held its breath, the shadows surged forward again, stretching out. Like dark arms, each figure, each moment of her life, hung in the balance. A choice loomed, dark and dangerous. Would the truth save her, or consume her? As the ground quaked, the world stood still for one heartbeat longer. The light flickered. Time slowed. Everything hinged on her decision. And just as she took a step, the ground cracked open beneath her, swallowing her whole, emotions spiraling as the shadows closed in around them all. Edith stumbled as the ground cracked beneath her, an overwhelming force tugging her down into darkness. Panic. Recognize! Edith! William shouted, urgency in every syllable. You have to believe me. I did it for you, for him. Stop, Jonathan cried, torn between disbelief and fury. You're not my dad. This isn't you. Then the shadows shifted again, chaos swirling. Edith's heart raced as the woman, a stranger who had collapsed, spoke, her voice steady despite the chaos. William is... The sky cracked open with a deafening roar, slicing through her thoughts. Rain poured down, drenching them all in seconds. The press of water turned the ground slick, making everyone stumble, hands clutching for balance. "Get inside!" someone shouted as the crowd surged for shelter, screaming and pushing past one another. But Edith felt frozen. The portal she couldn't grasp. "Mom, we have to go!" Jonathan pulled her, but she couldn't look away from William. His face was filled with desperation, raw and human. Suddenly, the stranger who had led them here lurched forward, stumbling into the light's grasp. His eyes widened as he pulled something from his jacket, a small pack. Before anyone could react, he threw it into the air. "What are you doing?" someone yelled. Time slowed as the pack burst open midair, scattering dark powder, shimmering, unsettling. The particles caught the light, swirling down like snowflakes, engulfing both William and the stranger. The moment the powder touched them, their bodies convulsed violently. William gasped, something dark slipping from his mouth. Confusion swept through the crowd. "Who are you?" Edith yelled, panic fueling her voice. "What is happening?" The man writhed, his form shifting like smoke in the wind. And just like that, he changed. "William!" Jonathan shouted, eyes wide with terror. But it was all truth morphing into chaos. The man, once William, transformed into a different face altogether. A face Edith had seen in older photographs. Someone she thought was long gone. Someone she hadn't even recognized. "Kathy," she whispered, the name slipping from her lips like a funeral dirge. The woman standing next to her, the one who had fallen, suddenly dropped to her knees, as if struck by a revelation. "No! How could you?" Her voice shattered with disbelief. "You were supposed to be dead." The crowd gasped. Shock, spreading like wildfire. All eyes were glued to the figure, now unmistakably Kathy, staring straight at Edith with a mix of sorrow and intent. "I was never dead, Edith. William was never who you thought he was. We made a choice to protect you." "What?" The ground felt unsteady beneath Edith's feet, but she held her ground. "You were the enemy?" "No," Kathy begged, tears stilling. "It was never like that. We were meant to safeguard you from the truth. But now it's too late." William's voice boomed, the intensity surging back as he fought against the transformation that threatened to consume him. The air was electric, heavy with betrayal and confusion. "You kept this from me? From us?" Edith's fury sparked, pain mixing with desperation. "You must understand the truth could tear you apart," Kathy cried out, stepping closer, grasping Edith's arms with urgency. "We had to keep you safe, but now it's out of our hands." The shadows thrashed around them, constricting, swirling with their sudden revelations. "What does that even mean?" Jonathan's voice cracked, pain and disbelief twisting through him. "What truth?" In that moment of clashing emotions, the ground rattled violently. And then the sky exploded into a wash of lights. Colors swirled above, casting shadows that danced erratically. Edith stepped back, horrified. "What's happening?" "Edith!" Kathy's voice broke through the chaos. "You must decide now. Save your future, or plunge into the depths of our past." The swirling lights above shot down, striking the ground, illuminating everything with a blinding brightness. Shadows screamed, as if the very truth fought to break free from its confines. The moment hung still, suspended in air, tension pulsing, heartbeats drumming like thunder. And suddenly, without warning, the light surged toward Edith. "You're the key!" Kathy shouted. Desperation etched across her face. You have to choose before it's too late. Edith's world flipped. Confusion churned violently within her. The choice before her was heavy, laden with consequences. What choice would it be? Truth or denial? With a roar of uncertainty, a flicker of fear blazed in her heart. Would she dare to grasp the reality she had once hidden from? Or would the shadows consume her entirely? As the light enveloped, her one question echoed in the storm. When the truth finally shattered the darkness, would there be anything left to save? The blinding light enveloped Edith, pulsing like a heartbeat. The power surged through her, igniting every nerve, tugging her like a marionette on strings. She could feel the shadows swirling around, reaching for something just out of reach. No, no, she gasped, fighting against the wave that threatened to drown her in truth. Panic swallowed her. This is it, she thought. All her questions hung in the air, shimmering like fragile glass, ready to shatter. William's presence loomed over her like a shadow, but she didn't trust it. What does this all mean? Edith! Jonathan's shout snapped her head back. But when she looked at him, something wasn't right. His face was pale, eyes darting in confusion, and then shock. Mom, behind you! She turned, the shadows around her closing in, and there, hovering at the edge of the portal, was a figure, a familiar silhouette, but twisted. The wind howled as it stepped forward. Kathy, she whispered, disbelief clawing at her throat. But it wasn't Kathy. The woman looked like her, but somehow different. Her eyes were black holes of night. Void of everything familiar, she raised her hand, fingers glinting like sharpened knives. You've become a nuisance, Edith, she said, voice cold and unrecognizable. You should have listened. Desperation gripped Edith, and she staggered back, heart pounding like a war drum. Who are you? What you see as truth is merely a construct, a trap. The figure leaned closer, a smirk twisting her lips. I am the real Kathy. I've lived in the shadows, just like your beloved husband. And now it's time for you to choose. Join the shadows or let everything you love burn. A gasp rippled through the crowd. What? Jonathan's voice cracked. This can't be happening! The rain poured heavier, drumming on the pavement, drowning out the chaos of disbelief. Edith's breath hitched. You're lying. Am I? The figure taunted. Tell me, when was the last time you questioned the choices made for you? Everything you think you know is built on deceit. A swell of confusion twisted in Edith's gut. You're not Kathy. You can't be. Watch carefully. With a flick of her wrist, shadows danced, revealing memories, fragments of Edith and William's life. Moments they had shared in love, but twisted, darkened. I watched them all. Your past is my masterpiece. No! Edith screamed. You're a monster! Am I? The figure replied, but her voice was now tinged with dark amusement. Or merely a reflection of what you've tried to ignore? This was always meant to happen. And then, as if on cue, the portal behind them erupted like a volcano, dark tendrils bursting forth, reaching towards the crowd. Edith felt the air grow thick, heavy with dread, suffocating hope. Mom, please! Jonathan's cry was raw, a plea caught between a desperate wish and abject horror. But amid the chaos, something else shifted. Something inside Edith cracked. She stepped forward, heart racing, and in a moment of raw courage, she shouted, Get away from my family! I won't let you take us. The real Kathy's eyes flickered in a sudden haze of pain, a grimace crossing her face before morphing into that wicked smirk once more. You think that will save you, Edith? You're already trapped in the very game we made. And then she lunged. But out of the shadows, at the last moment, the stranger, still recovering from the earlier chaos, darted in front of Edith. No, stay back! He shoved something into her hands, an object cold and unfamiliar. This is the key. It can break her hold. As the figure screamed, the sound ripping through the storm, the realization hit like a thunderclap. Everything she thought she knew had been laced with deception. Wait, what? She glanced from the stranger to Kathy, all the pieces crashing against each other. But before she could form the question, everything shattered. The darkness surged, flames flickering to life around them. But as the atmosphere crackled, she felt a shift, a doorway opening not just to the past, but to an unsettling truth about her own power. In that moment of chaos, as Jonathan squeezed her hand tighter, Edith understood. She wasn't just a pawn. She was the one who could ignite change. But at what cost? Just as she steeled herself, the shadow of Kathy lunged forward with a scream that cut through the air. The energy pulsed, time suspended, and for a heartbeat, the world faded. Came a colossal roar of light, a final gasp of truth mixed with deception. And in that moment, she knew everything was on the brink of collapsing. Would she rise and fight, or be consumed by the darkness? Edith stumbled back, the chaos swirling around her, heart racing. Shadows loomed, darkness whispering secrets of old. The figure before her, twisted into a dark reflection of Kathy, lunged. You think you can fight me? Her voice dripped with malevolence, echoing in the chaos. Just as she was about to strike, the stranger who had thrown the pack yelled, Now! Activate! With shaking hands, he pressed a button. The powder exploded into a dazzling cloud of light, sending shockwaves through the crowd. Everything felt suspended, like a long breath held too long. Then, in a blinding flash, it all burst. The light shot out, striking the shadowy figure. A scream cut through the air, sharp and anguished. The crowd recoiled, a wave of gasps washing over them. But Edith stood frozen, eyes wide. The shadows wrapped around her figure, and she could only watch as the form of Kathy twisted and shimmered under the dazzling light. Suddenly, there was a sharp crack. A fissure opened in the space around them, and the light pulled everything in. With a thundering crash, it vanished, dragging. Shadows and cries into nothingness. And then, silence. An eerie calm settled over everything. Eyes blinked. Bewildered faces scanned the area for what remained. Jonathan grabbed her arm, his grip tight. Mom, what just happened? I don't know, she stammered, her voice trembling. The stranger was on his knees, panting, the tension draining from his body. I didn't think it would work, but it did enough. The others, they're gone. Gone? Jonathan echoed, shock rippling through his words. But Kathy, she was... We have to move, the stranger cut in, urgency creeping into his voice. They'll be back. Before they could react, a building-shaking roar echoed from the depths of the alley. The crowd jumped, panic bubbling up again. People began to scatter, shouting and stumbling as more shadows emerged, this time larger, more menacing. Mom, run! Jonathan yelled, pulling her towards the exit. But as they turned, another piercing scream erupted. What now? Edith shouted, panic overtaking her. From the chaos, a figure pushed through, rising above the crowd. It was Kathy, 3 times twisted, yet unchanged, her eyes blazing with fury. "You thought you could destroy me? You fools!" And then she morphed again, a glint of metal catching the fading light. "But you're too late!" She lifted a finger, revealing a small, flickering device like the one the stranger had used. Edith's heart dropped. "What is that?" Kathy laughed, a sound that crawled under her skin, sending shivers through her. "The key to everything. Not just shadows, but realities. You're tangled deeper than you know." And then everything changed. The air crackled as she activated the device. A swirling vortex opened at her feet, darkness spiraling outward, threatening to consume them all. Jonathan pulled back. "It's a trap! She's going to take us with her!" But just as they were ready to run, a piercing light erupted from the device, revealing something shocking. Memories swirling around them. Images of Edith's life flashing like a slideshow. Moments of warmth, then betrayal. Among the images, a child's face flickered too. Jonathan as a baby, laughing. But then a dark figure loomed behind her in one shot, features shadowy and warped. She realized with horror that it was William. "What is this?" Edith gasped, everything crashing down at once. "What did you do to him?" "What you don't understand," Kathy hissed, "is that William never left you. He chose to protect the truth." "What truth?" Jonathan's voice cracked, tears forming in his eyes. "What the hell happened to my dad?" Kathy smirked, eyes dancing with a dark glee. "You don't know the secrets he carried until death. The truth will consume you all, and you're standing in the middle of it." Edith felt a lump rise in her throat. Confusion spun her mind as everything she thought solid fell apart. "No, this can't be." "Right?" Kathy continued, the portal flaring behind her. "The child you remembered, he is not who you think he was." "No," Jonathan whispered, stepping back. "No." With a snap, the truth revealed itself. Kathy wasn't just an enemy. She was the key to everything. And suddenly the world twisted again. In that moment, Edith realized nothing was as it seemed. The shadows had always been hiding more than secrets. They had concealed her very identity. As the darkness loomed, swallowing everything around them, an impossible question tangled in her thoughts. Could everything she believed about herself, about her family, be a lie? Kathy's laughter shattered the tension in the air, a chilling sound that resonated deep within Edith's bones. "You still don't understand, do you? You're a mere puppet dancing on strings you can't even see." "Enough!" Edith shouted, her voice fierce, carving through the chaos. She stepped forward, a surge of courage igniting within her, a wave crashing against the shore of despair. "This ends now." Kathy's smile faltered, and in that moment, Edith saw a flicker of uncertainty. "You think you can stop me?" "I will fight for my family," Edith replied, fierce determination tightening her chest. "For Jonathan, for William, I won't let you twist our lives any longer." The figure before her hesitated, shadows swirling around her like a storm finally meeting resistance. As if sensing Edith's resolve, the swirling portal behind Kathy flickered, the darkness reflecting the battle within. Suddenly, Jonathan stepped beside her, unwavering. "We're in this together, Mom." His voice was steady, grounding, and right then the bond of family glowed bright, a beacon against the encroaching shadows. Kathy sneered, casting a deep chill. You think you can tie yourself to hope and change fate? I am fate! The darkness will always prevail. But Edith gripped Jonathan's hand tighter, and together they advanced, hearts pounding as they faced the looming darkness. No, we are stronger than any lie, she cried, an undercurrent of raw emotion lifting her spirit. The shadows quivered, a pulse of recognition crackling in the air. In a bold move, Edith reached into her pocket, pulling out the crumpled letter William had written to Jonathan, the letter of courage. She held it high, her words echoing like thunder. This letter carries the truth. It's not just about you or me. It's about all of us. Us choosing to fight against what seeks to bind us. Kathy faltered, her dark form flickering, layers of shadows peeling away to reveal a glimpse of vulnerability beneath the chaos. You think you can undo what has been done? Yes, Jonathan shouted, stepping forward resolutely. We believe in the power of love over fear. Striking like a bolt of lightning, the light from the letter flickered, lighting their faces in a warm glow. The shadows recoiled, twisting like smoke in the wind, and suddenly the portal began to shrink, drawn into the light. No, this is not how it ends, Kathy screamed, her voice warping into a wail of despair. Edith stepped closer, heart racing. It ends with us reclaiming our lives, free from your control. The shadows began to dissolve and Kathy's form flickered violently, revealing the truth hidden behind layers of darkness. In an explosion of blinding light, the darkness shattered, folding into itself as if swallowed by the brilliance of hope. The shadows cascaded away, leaving nothing but silence. Jonathan looked up at his mother, tears glistening in his eyes, a reflection of shared strength. We did it. Edith's throat tightened, and she pulled him into a heartfelt embrace, feeling the warmth of their connection, as if the world had shifted back into balance. In that fleeting moment, the weight of sorrow lifted just enough to let hope seep in. As the crowd around them dispersed, shock and relief mingled across every face, whispers of awe rippling through them. The stranger who had led them into this battle stood beside them, watching, relieved. You saved us. You saved everyone. Edith nodded, still feeling the remnants of fear wrap around her heart, but lighter now. She turned back to where the shadows had vanished, recognizing that the truth would forever be complicated. But they could finally reclaim their story. William, I hope you're at peace. Let's go home, Mom, Jonathan said softly, holding her hand tighter. Together they made their way down the street where they once laughed and lived, ready to start anew, weaving a story of courage into the fabric of their lives. But as they walked, a new resolve stirred within them. They would no longer be trapped in shadows. They would embrace the truth, however painful it might be. And so, as they headed home towards the light of their shared future, a new chapter began. And before you go, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and keep this amazing journey alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending, because I want to hear from every one of you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know how this ends. Your support makes all the difference. So let's keep this community thriving.